to enforce. So we don't necessarily have all of the 35,000 reviewers assess every single one of these policies. So I can follow up in more detail if you would like on the call to arms policy and the nuance there specifically, but that's also a bit on how we operationalize these policies.
Well, thank you for that answer. I do want to follow up because just facially it seemed to me that this was a violation of your own call to arms policy, but I look forward to that conversation. Mr. Dorsey, if I might, at a House Energy Committee hearing, I think it was 2 years ago, you committed to something that I was just discussing with Mr. Zuckerberg, an independent civil rights audit, but in your case of Twitter. The audit released by Facebook in July has proven invaluable to bringing sunlight to some key areas in which Facebook does need to improve. Will you follow through in your commitment and commission to this independent audit of Twitter?
So we work with civil rights groups all over the country and around the world to get feedback. We're in constant conversation with them. And we do believe that being more transparent and making our transparency report a lot more robust, which today we still have some gaps, is important for any entity to audit independently of us. We believe that's important because an audit like that could take away from the work that we need to do. We'd rather provide the information in a raw format so that people can do that work.
If I heard you right, you aren't going to pursue an independent civil rights audit, but you are going to continue to release data and to consult with civil rights groups. I'd welcome a more thorough answer as to in which way having an independent outside audit would actually harm your transparency efforts.
I don't mean it would harm it. I mean that we want to provide enough information so that people can do this work independently of us on their own timelines. And that's where we need to make our transparency report more robust. And as I said, we have regular conversations with these groups and take feedback regularly.
You do, Mr. Dorsey, have policies against deep fakes or manipulated media, against COVID-19 misinformation, against things that violate civic integrity, but you don't have a standalone climate change misinformation policy. Why not?
Well, misleading information, as you are aware, is a large problem. It's hard to define it completely and cohesively. We wanted to scope our approach to start to focus on the highest severity of harm. We focused on 3 areas: manipulated media, which you mentioned, civic integrity around the election specifically, and public health specifically around COVID. We wanted to make sure that our resources that we have the greatest impact on where we believed the greatest severity of harm is going to be. Our policies are living documents. They will evolve. We will add to them. But we thought it important that we focus our energies and prioritize the work as much as we could.
Well, Mr. Dorsey, and I'll close with this. I cannot think of a greater harm than climate change, which is transforming literally our planet and causing harm to our entire world. I think we're experiencing significant harm as we speak. I recognize the pandemic and misinformation about COVID-19, manipulated media also cause harm, but I'd urge you to reconsider that, because helping to disseminate climate denialism, in my view, further facilitates and accelerates one of the greatest existential threats to our world. So, and thank you to both of our witnesses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ernst.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Dorsey, thank you both for being here with us today virtually and for your commitment to constantly improving the way your platforms are serving people across the country. There has been a lot of talk today. Many